listen, absolutely. But something that I learned from doing this game, Chris, um, most of the love that you're gonna get, believe it or not, is from folks that you don't know,
100%.
that you randomly just come across your
I
stuff.
knew, I knew that coming in. I knew that coming in.
So,
Give him the proper introduction, man. Come on, do it right. Do it
oh
right.
man, listen, hey Josh, thank you, brother. Really, thank you for being here today. Truly appreciate your gracious with time with us. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have the one and only Josh Martinez from Sunset Park, Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
Z. I'm sorry, I was about to go somewhere else. Z100's voice for evening radio. Josh Martinez, welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Welcome to the Breeze Shooter Show. Steven, he's supposed to be here, but I know there was a little bit of rain, so I don't know.
A little bit of rain. Yo, it downpoured.
Yeah, but it was only for like 90 seconds and then it stopped.
Nah, it was like 110 seconds, and
Okay,
it felt
all right,
miserable.
all right.
It was terrible. The G train stopped working for some
Oh
reason.
my God.
So then I needed to take a lift, and then obviously my Lyft driver was driving like his car was made out of paper in the rain.
yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. It wasn't fun. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Right on cue, Josh. Good luck leaving later.
I hope the microphone just picks up on it, by the way.
So, hey, Josh, I guess where do we start with you, man? So you're from 42nd between 8th and 9th?
Yes,
originally?
sir. Yes, sir.
Man. Josh, how old are you?
33.
Well, all right, that's why.
33.
We're a lot older. I used to
You're-
run with your brother.
You're a lot older.
I used to be like in the same circle with
Really?
your brother when they used to go up to Sunset Park and play
Yeah.
basketball. All the kids,
Absolutely.
Ray, Steven, and all those Kiko, all those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did it happen? How did it start for you? This whole pursuit for your radio career?
I hated college. I hated the idea of school. I hated the idea of everything. Like for me, going to school, 65 was passing. I'm gonna get a 65, and I'm gonna impress the hot girl in class. I'm gonna be the class clown. I'm gonna be the center of attention. 65, and that's it. And like my brother he got a double master's from Columbia University, for example. Yeah, he got his PhD, so he's Dr. Chubby, right?
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. He's Dr. Martinez. My sister got her master's from Hunter. Like real successful siblings, and I was the complete opposite of all that. You know what I'm saying? But I always knew I wanted to be an entertainer, so I dropped out of College of Staten Island midway through my third semester. I got paid to go to college.
Really?
Like the financial aid was so much that it covered like the amount of tuition and then some.
Oh, nice.
So that I literally would get like an $1,100 check to go to college.
What were you going to college for?
I wanted to be a theater major.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so I wanted to do.
to stay in the
Yeah. The problem is like when we live in the greatest city on planet Earth, right? So
Mhm.
like everybody and their mother wants to be on film or be an actor, right? So what ends up happening is you're in competition with people that are just genuinely talented that don't need it. They don't need school. So between a acting degree and a Metro card, I could get on a bus. Like that was the only difference. You know what I'm saying? So I dropped out middle of my third semester, ended up going to a little 8-week program for TV and radio or whatever in Jersey. That was, I ain't gonna front. It's one of those like they just kind of want your money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They just kind of want your money.
Hey, Josh, you're great. You're a natural.
Exactly. They a DK audition, right? But I ended up teaching at that school down the road or whatever, and I took it
Really?
serious. And I would be around when they would do like these auditions, and it would like I'd be looking at people like you have like the personality of a piece of plaster. Like you
Wow. That's
you have
great.
aspirations of being on the radio, and you sound like doo doo.
Wow.
But they would be like, "Oh, you sound great.
Yeah. You know,
We already did a background check. You're gonna qualify for financial aid, and that's all we want, right?" Like, so it was what it was. And but there was an instructor there that works for KTU,
Mm.
so I ended up getting an internship right after I was done with my time at that school or whatever.
Okay.
So then from there, it just kind of snowballed, and that was 14 years ago this summer.
oh, wow.
Yeah, when I was 19 years
So
old.
you started. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
God
And
bless.
Josh, I do got to tell you, you have a great voice. So I was going through YouTube and I was looking at
Mhm.
your little clip. Beautiful voice for radio, man. Beautiful
Thank you.
voice.
Appreciate
man.
it.
So what
I
happened?
feel way more comfortable now than I ever did in my career.
Do you really?
Yeah, because like, so in radio, like anything else, you got to like leave to come back, right? And I
Yeah.
always knew it was going to be Z100. That was always the goal. That was always the target. I literally still on my phone, like you know how like you can set like the little notes on your alarm.
Uh-huh.
I have it. It still says I will be at Z100. Like that's
Get outta
that's
here.
my
Wow.
That's me right there, man. You got
You got to manifest
you
it.
got that's the
Mhm.
shit right there. I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad it worked out too. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
It was
Wow.
that. It was I will be at Z100. I taped it. on a little piece of paper that I put on my computer when I was working in Des Moines, Iowa. So I left from here. I went to Des Moines, Iowa to do radio, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, before getting that call to do Z100. Yeah. So I've been out of New York. I mean, I was out of New York from November 2012 to May 2021, just grinding and hustling with the goal of being back here. No matter, everything I did was a chess move with the ultimate goal. Being in New York City, being at Z100, that was always the goal. Amazing. So to me, it was like, got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Never cared about, I mean, growing up in Sunset, everybody has trauma.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? Generational trauma. Everybody has trauma. So for me, it was like growing up with the traumas that I saw, that I was a part of, it led me to not want to be a husband and a father because it was just scary. A lot of psychological things that you're like, yo, if I'm an iota of Poppy, like I'm going to be a piece of shit human being. Like that's just real. So, but that manifested itself and gave me energy to go, okay, if I go full into this career path, whatever it is, then I'm going to give it my all. I'm not going to have a girl to stop me, kids that stop me, which like, if you're a parent and you're listening to this, like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not a parent. I'm still not a parent, but you know what I'm talking about, that those responsibilities.
Priorities change.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Exactly.
1,000%. So for me, it was just a matter of just kind of just going full into it because I didn't have a college degree to fall back on. I had nothing to fall back on. I didn't have a marketing degree where I could go, I'll get a job at an agency in the city. I don't have that.
If this don't work out, you're back at zero. You're back, at
1,000%.
or whatever, McDonald's, whatever.
Yeah, and there was a time where I was in between radio jobs and I ended up working in the hotel industry. Okay. And that was miserable. Wow. That's when I like gained my most weight. Like that's when like legitimate depression. I was like, oh, this is what it is. I get, like, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to even eat, and when you do, it's garbage. Like just, and then obviously you are what you eat. So then if you eat like trash, you feel like trash. And then the next morning you wake up and it's Groundhog's Day. You do it again. You're playing Madden all day because that's the excitement of your day. But you're not. There were days where I wouldn't even brush my teeth at all. Wow. Right? Because you're just like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay in the room. Before you know it, 9 a.m. becomes 12 p.m., becomes 3 p.m. And then you're like, well, I'm just going to go to sleep. And then it's, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And you realize I dead ass haven't brushed my teeth in like 36 hours. Wow. And that's just real. That's just real shit that all of us have gone through.
Yep. You're talking serious stuff right there because that's how depression happens. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize it because you're masking it with entertainment, which was at the time video games. No. And you're just going through it like, all right, nobody sees me up on.
It's crazy that he mentions that because as I'm in the car, parking to come over here, I saw a little clip and it was a UFC fighter and he goes, he lost his friend committed suicide.
Yeah, this past Saturday night.
Yeah, he committed suicide and he just got it in the way. He got the news in the weigh-in, and there's a stigma where we can't say. That's why I applaud him right now for saying why he said it because for us we're good. We're good, mm-hmm. And we could be fighting demons.
Yeah,
and the stigma is men are not allowed to
feel. Period. Yeah, that's it. Like we can't feel. Think about it. Think of the term "man up."
Yeah,
right. Like just something that simple, or like, yo, you're acting like a little girl, mm-hmm. right? Not realizing that like that stuff that we've heard all our lives that it becomes so natural that we don't realize like how negative that really is. Like man up, yo, you cry, yo, man up, stop being a bitch, man up, and like that is literally there's women that are stronger than the majority of men I know. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like the strongest people in my life are in fact women. Yep. So to me, I think it goes back to just being able to be open and honest. And I thank God that like now we're all having this conversation and social media has brought it to the forefront. And I talk about it on my night show every weeknight, 6 to 10 on Z100.
Plug it. Let's go.
I talk about it as often as I could. The three things I always focus on my show are I always mention that I'm Puerto Rican because I'm so proud of that. I'm the first Puerto Rican at Z100 ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
Ever.
Congratulations, man.
Ever.
Shit, I like.
That is dope.
So I always talk about that because I want people to know, like, yo, we could do it. Yeah. Just because we are Latino doesn't mean we could only do La Nueva Mega and go with that over the top voice on 97.9
Univision.
Yeah, like we don't have to do that. We could be ourselves. We could just be natural and talk and go on the radio on the biggest pop station on the planet. And the reason why I was saying before, to go back a little bit, I feel the most comfortable now than ever before is because New York, like, I say dead ass on the radio. People know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Here, I do that in Iowa or Ohio. No, like what? They don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I can say OD like, yo, he's being OD right now. People get it. I could be like, yo, I'm mad tight. People get it here, and all those other markets, they don't get it. So I'm the most comfortable here. And but to go back to the three things, it's me being Puerto Rican, mental health, talking about it at least once or twice a show. Like, yo, everybody needs help. It's okay to be like, yo, raise your hand and be like, I need help. It doesn't make you any weaker.
Nope.
And the third thing is making people know that teachers are the most underappreciated people of our community.
No, absolutely, and it's funny that you said you touched it on social media.
Mhm.
We had a comedian on, and he was talking about, hey man, if you see your friend putting too many selfies up, and it's not like his regular routine, check in on him. He goes, don't even check in on him. Pop up, pull up, be like, yo, are you okay? Is everything fine? Because I think with social media, a lot of people mask the issues or problems that they have. And of course, if you go on social media, everybody looks like they're living a great life.
Of course.
They're painting this optic, but it's not true.
The big thing about social media, and I said this to my brother the other day because I've been saying it for a while, and he dead ass just like stopped and looked at me like, wow, that was huge. And I just remember thinking like, oh, I got something on chat.
From the double masters guy. From the double masters guy.
But it comes from a place of just common sense. Like, I'm wearing for those that can't see, listening, or whatever, I'm wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, right? Huge wrestling fan. But if I wear this shirt out and 5 different people compliment my shirt, my day is made. 5 people. Yo, that shirt is dope. Yo, I like that shirt. Nice shirt. Forget about it. You're wearing a Jeter shirt. Somebody says, "Oh, yo, Captain, yo, number 2." You're gonna pump your chest out. Your back gets a little more straighter. Yeah, for some reason, if you only get 5 likes,
I stop talking and I wait. And when I get your attention, listen, you can be on your phone whenever you want. If is what I'm saying not that interesting to you, that you are disrespecting me by picking up the phone, and these are my brothers. Like, I love Lou. Don't have that problem. Lou, I think Lou doesn't even like his phone. He uses his phone because he has to. And no bullshit. And now with
Metro PCS,
yeah,
it's spotty.
prepaid.
It's spotty.
But my girl says, Chris, you're on the phone. Our babe went back. We had this conversation like 9 months ago, and I made it to be mindful about, if I'm here with you, I'm here with you.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot disrespect you by picking up my phone. Like, what you're saying doesn't matter. It's not important. No,
to me, it's one thing if, like, we're talking, the phone lights up. Now with the wrist, with the Apple Watches, I have a friend that literally will be in the middle of a conversation, and like, the whole point of an Apple Watch is to make it a little less obvious. Yeah. But there are people that are just like, they stop, they stare at their wrist, and you're like, okay, you got a text, you got a message, like, it's patently obvious. You look even worse. Like, you dead ass. It's like a Power Ranger at that point. Right?
It
like,
takes all this theme out of your story. Exactly. Of you telling whatever you have to tell. You're like,
and it's, listen, we're all human. The phone lights up. You got to take a quick look at it, maybe time or whatever. You kind of look at it, glance at it. That's fine. But to me, it's one thing if we're in the middle of a conversation, you're like, yeah, that's crazy, bro. Yeah, that's wild, dog. And like,
there you go.
And
that's disrespectful.
It's super disrespectful. Yeah. Super disrespectful.
So, Josh, let's go back to your journey. So you did the internship for KTU. Mm-hmm. At that point, did you know that you was going to return, like the conversations that were being had, and the stations that you were going to at these off places, were they affiliates?
Yeah, so iHeartRadio is the biggest radio company on the planet or whatever, and so I stayed within iHeartRadio.
Okay.
Because I knew I wanted to be at Z100. Once I got the internship, I learned about radio. You realize, like, we're jaded living in this market. We're jaded because we grew up with Z100 always there, so we knew it was a big deal in our own market. But then when you start to meet people from other cities, and you start to realize people on a global level look at Z100 and like try to emulate what Z100, like Z100 is the tastemaker when it comes to radio. And when you're talking about pop culture, I mean, there's a famous story where Jay-Z, when he finally got Rita Ora signed, he pulled up to Z100 in the middle of like the afternoon show, which is a high listen to station, on like 10-minute warning. Yo, Jay-Z's coming with this new artist. He wants to go on the radio, and he's Jay-Z, so you do it. Of
course.
Wow. But Jay-Z knows, if I have a pop act, we're gonna bring her directly to Z100. We're gonna go directly in, and that to me spoke volumes. And I just thought that was one of the most badass stories ever. Not only for Jay-Z to be like, hey, biggest radio station, I'm gonna come by. I'm telling you I'm gonna come by. And you're gonna just throw your format out the window for about 20 minutes. And then also for Jay-Z to recognize that Z100 is in fact Z100. So for me, once I knew that, it was like, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get there somehow, some way. And that's doing whatever it took to get there too.
I think it's important, and sorry, Lalo, to tap back on them. How did you work yourself out of the mental situation you were in?
Just finding those things that you like to do, right? Like finding the right support. I remember there was one time, so I was living out on Long Island at the time when I was working at the hotels or whatever, and I was with an ex-girlfriend, and my boys came out, like 8 of them deep in in a minivan or whatever, just to hang out. We played football in the street like we were when we were kids. Mind you, we're like in our teens and 20s at that point. 2-hand touch, 4-on-4 or whatever, chilling in the backyard, drinking. Like it was so much fun. When they left, I like sobbed. And mind you, it's from Selden, Long Island to Staten Island, Brooklyn was an hour and a half car ride. Like it's not New York to Iowa, which that also eventually kicked in later. But it was just finding finding what it is that I'm passionate about, that I like, that puts a smile on my face. So when I got at my lowest, I was at my lowest in Des Moines, Iowa. I got into fitness as my escape.
Nice.
And I got into the best shape I was ever in my life. I mean, I was jacked. I look at pictures now and I'm like, what? I'm engaged, right? So like, that's what happened. But
no, don't do that. Don't do that.
That's what happened. So it was one of those things where you just sit there and you're just like, man, this kind of like, I need to do something to occupy your time. And then, you eat good, feel good.
Absolutely.
You work out, endorphins, all that stuff. And it's as silly as like, you go to the gym 3 days in a week. You're like, I feel better. Or I felt better on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh snap. I went to the gym, or, I did grilled chicken and greens for, 3 days straight or whatever. And I mean, I was struggling financially when I was in Iowa. I mean, I was hitting people up to literally borrow like $5-10. And that's when I discovered whole wheat peanut butter, on whole wheat toast with peanut butter and banana. It is so filling. It's nutritious. Like from a nutritious level, it's actually, it's pretty good, but it's so filling. And you could get 99-cent sliced bread. You can get, $1.19 Jif peanut butter, and bananas are usually really affordable. So for less than $5, I can have like 3 days worth of meals. So when you're struggling making $26,500 a year, granted it was Iowa, I was still living in like a loft in downtown Des Moines.
I was about to ask. We're talking about Iowa,
But even then, it's like disposable income was non-existent, right? So like being smart about shit. I would buy like really cheap vodka, drink it, and then go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and those are my technically college age years. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just pretending I'm a college student, like just being mad frugal, but I'm living on my own and all. And when I moved to Iowa, all I brought with me was clothes and a WWF title belt. Wow. That was it. That's all I brought with me. Nothing else.
You're real fan. Like you buy.
I bought a title. I don't buy them because again, another thing too, like once you start making money and like you grew up with nothing, you start to splurge, right? Absolutely. But then like
us like minorities, that's
hell
yeah.
I was having a conversation with my boy recently where it's like you grow up without knowing what it's like to have money. So all of a sudden you realize, oh, I could buy a wrestling t-shirt because I've always, that's my vice. Mm-hmm. It ain't drugs, it ain't alcohol, it's wrestling t-shirts, which thank God. It's not Jordans for $220, although I am getting into the sneaker game a little bit now, which is a dangerous game to get into.
Those t-shirts are not cheap anymore. Wrestling
t-shirts
they're not. Are popping.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
They are.
Especially the ones that are really sorted after, forget about it.
The vintage one, the more old
I'm into
school
drugs and alcohol, but that's me.
That's fine.
That's me.
Listen, crack is at an all-time low now.
I want to spend my money my way.
Blunts and 40s, but no, but I think the most important part is just like I said before, like just realizing like what's gonna make you happy, what's gonna put a smile on your face. And to me, it happened to be like fitness, look good, feel good, and that was also the time the WWE Network dropped, where like every pay-per-view was out there. So now all of a sudden I'm channeling back to my childhood, watching pay-per-views from 92, 93, 94, nice. And so on, and I'm just like, yo, wrestling was garbage back then, but as a kid, really? You're like.
I'd rather back then than now, man. Like I don't watch WWE anymore. But I remember when I was a kid, I remember Hulk Hogan fighting the Iron Sheik, or when Hulk Hogan WrestleMania 3, when Hulk Hogan picked up Andre the Giant, like that to me, like talking about it again, I'm like, yeah, but now
it's a difference though. It's a different era. We didn't have those. Remember when wrestling came on, it was something special. Like with the karate flicks on Saturday morning, you didn't have like cable. Now you're oversaturated with all these different channels. With us, it was limited, so you had these special. That's why it was special to us. But you're right though. They're more athletic now. It's just a better. It's a better product.
100% more in shape.
Yeah.
The other, just to quickly go back on the TV front, I always compare it to when you're hungry, but you're so hungry you don't know what you want to eat, and you end up in a diner.
Exactly.
Right? Like there's so many options, you don't know what you want. or when you're starving and you don't know if you want Mexican, Spanish, Italian sandwiches, like you don't know what you want. With TV, it's so saturated. I can't tell you how many times I have sat there with my girl and we're just going through Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime.
How much time goes by?
Bro, like an hour. And then what do you end up doing? To the same show that you've been watching for the last 8 years.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you put on, in my case, like I love Investigation Discovery. Like I'm all in on that. You put it on, and what happens 20 minutes later? I'm out sleeping, knocked on the couch like a viejo, just chilling there on my hands on my gut, just like total abuelo style, just knocked out on the couch because I spent an hour looking for something, but then ended up going to what I always went to.
Yeah.
Like
I think
we all do that.
Yes.
We all do that. You kind of like touched on a couple of things that what was your biggest what would you say was the biggest hardship working in these small market
Being by yourself.
really?
Yeah, I love a lot of people think that like being in a new city is intimidating, but I compare it almost to, this is gonna sound mad corny, but I compare it almost to like Footloose, where like, you know, Kevin Bacon pulls up to the scene and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's a big deal. Like when I was in Des Moines, Iowa, as a Puerto Rican from Brooklyn, I was a unicorn.
Wow.
Tinder was so much fun because all of a sudden the Blanquitas are like, whoa, dark eyes. And like everybody grew up with doo-doo brown eyes, right?
Yeah.
Basically, all of a sudden they see me and I'm the different one. These blonde hair, blue eyes girls look at me like I'm the different one. And I'm like, yes, girl, I'm different. I'm different. I'm different.
You just dropped the gem. You're gonna have a lot of guys going over there now.
Let me, bro. The same way Biggie went to Virginia to sell weed,
Yeah.
guys, you can have your fun in Des Moines, Iowa.
If my girl leaves me, I'm moving to Iowa.
Oh,
I'm telling you,
man.
dog. But I think to me it was a lot of those nights where, and I have a lot of friends that start out in the radio industry that go to a new city, and I tell them the same thing, like, hit me up if you're ever lonely or bored, because I know what it's like to feel like you're on top of the world. I had a #1 rated night show in Des Moines.
Really?
Like I was killing it out there, right? I was making extra money. I was going to clubs. I was going to lounges, right? And that's fun on Friday, Saturday, Sunday gimmicks or whatever. But that Tuesday night in the winter when it's negative 40 degrees wind chill outside, and you come home from such a high, and then you just there, and it's the same routine. It's the 10 o'clock news. It's Jimmy Fallon. It's Seth Meyers. It's Wendy Williams after that late. That it was like it was constantly that rotation of just I feel like I'm stuck in a rut, and that was the
And that breaks into the down, the depression.
1,000%, because like you're on cloud nine. You know, I'll never forget. When I was in Cincinnati and I was running radio stations, I had to put on a free concert or whatever, and I was in charge of it, everything, right? And we ended up generating like 8,000 people to come to this thing that was a brainchild of mine, which is like such a ridiculously good feeling to put months and months of hard work into something and to see it come to fruition and exceed your expectations, right? Free concert, massive humanity there, like mad fun. The next day, because I stayed in Cincinnati that night, the next day I'm driving back to my apartment, and I'll never forget feeling so low, but nothing happened. It was just I was on such a high that naturally, if you're that high, where are you going to come? You're going to come down. So that coming down just to get to my average felt like a massive come down. And it hit me like, oh, I get why a lot of, and like, I understand why a lot of performers, if you do research on a lot of performers that killed themselves, it was after they performed. It happened to be on tour, after a show, after a stand-up act, they end up passing away, whether it's by ODing or suicide itself. Because I can't even imagine. I just organized a show for 8,000 people. And I felt like, oh man, I'm sad now. But there was nothing to be sad about. Can you imagine if you're the reason why 30,000 people are at Citi Field to see you perform, and then all you do is go to an empty ass hotel room at 1 a.m. to watch SportsCenter? Like that messes with you.
Wow.
Right? So there's a lot, like Chester of Lincoln Park killed himself. I believe it was either the same night of a show. I want to say it was either the same night of a show or a day before a show. Same thing with Chris Cornell. He killed himself like the night of a show, because I think it's just one of those things that like, and it hit me in that moment of like, oh, this makes sense.
But what about the positive feedback after the fact? Does that do anything for you? I mean, it has to feel good.
And it's funny, and I'm sorry, it's funny that Lou brings that up, because that's my thing. It must be you're lacking something when you go from one extreme to the other.
I think for me,
it's lacking, Chris. I think it's just it's a high.
Happiness.
Yeah, exactly.
You're lacking some type of happiness when you can't now. You could be in a high. Like I always tell my girl, I can't depend on somebody else to make me happy. That's my job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your job to be happy. Now, do I add happiness to your life? 100%. She adds happiness to my life. But God forbid she finds out the jerk off that I really am and decides to leave me.
Trust me, she knows.
Yeah.
She knows.
Yeah, okay, she left. I'll be sad because she's a great woman, but I'm happy
Mhm.
because I already that's my ceiling. You understand? So I never saw the way you're talking about because it's but they have if you start analyzing because it's crazy like you just said these artists yourself when you did that and then when you it's a high but then you come crashing down low.
But all you're doing is getting back to your mean. You're just getting back to the basic. Yet it
Yeah, exactly.
feels like you're
A lot
plummeting,
worse.
right?
Yeah.
Like you're only going down to your regular, but it feels so much worse. And I think for me, my biggest issue is, and I've been talking about this for years at therapy, and I still can't seem to break through. My biggest issue is that I can't stop and smell the roses. I'm always like, okay, this is cool. Now what? Like I got to Z100. I got to the to my pinnacle. And then literally within a month or two, I was like, okay, now what? Like now what's my next move? And instead of just chilling and being like, bro, like
And enjoying
enjoy it,
the journey.
enjoy it,
No, but Josh, it's
relax.
about
Like
maintaining now, though, right? You have to transition to like maintaining mode. Like, how do I keep this? Because are you guys are like on year-to-year contracts? That's how it works on the radio?
multi-year deal, similar to like athletes and like how
Okay.
we see it on Sports Center, like that type of stuff. But like I'll give you an example. And not to get too deep, but like I'm the new night host for our pop station in Chicago. And so I'm doing, Chicago and New York simultaneously, but it's two different shows.
Wow.
So I'm the only person in the country for iHeart that has a show in two of the three biggest markets.
Wow.
And to do that as a Puerto Rican is like ridiculous. Yet my mom was having like issues just moving, and that completely killed the buzz of me making this history on radio because I'm just consuming that energy from my mother and her issues and her deficiencies in regards to like taking initiative and
Change.
just yeah, like but also like taking that initiative to say I'm gonna move, I'm gonna make the moves that I need to do to properly physically move from one place to the next. And because she was lacking that motivation, like that killed me, like, and that just completely killed my mood for like weeks. Because again, like I'm just all about like, yo, stop and like don't, I can't stop and smell the roses, and then I get this really cool thing, but then something happens where I get so distracted and consumed by the energy of my mother that I can't even like acknowledge that I just made history. You know what I'm saying? And it felt good for maybe 20 minutes. And we haven't even officially announced that I'm the new night host in Chicago yet. But like when that comes out, the phone calls will come in, the text, the emails congratulating me. That'll last about 6 hours. And then after that, it's back to, okay, now I'm nationally syndicated in 40 different cities. I have a night show in Chicago. I have a night show in the biggest radio station in New York City, but I'm still missing something, and I don't know what that is. And I go to therapy for it or whatever. And like my ultimate, like, so my adult dream was Z100. My kid dream is working for WWE. And it's like, even if I get to WWE, it'll probably be like, now what? And then that's when I'm really stuck, because at that point it's like I got to be an astronaut. Like I got to be an astronaut. Then
So you
like,
better prolong that.
I gotta,
move.
yeah.
Don't do it yet.
I clearly, because at this point I'm like, I got to Z100 and I'm already like, what's next? So who the hell knows?
But that's part of your makeup. That's why you're so successful, because of that push. It's just, I guess, mastering the other side once you get there, like kind of how to like just mellow
But
out.
find a
And
balance,
yeah.
brother. Find a balance because
It takes time. No, it takes time. I don't think it's gonna happen overnight.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
But
It's
I like what he said. He's telling us.
No, he's
what's-
analyzing it. Yeah.
He's telling us what's not right. So that's a big part, So, like, listen, man. More power to you, man, and God bless. But I know that the good part about it is, first of all, you're going to therapy. It's fucking awesome.
And everybody should really consider going
hell
to
yeah.
therapy.
I had
Everybody
therapy
could benefit.
yesterday after my softball games on Staten Island. I like sped to therapy. I did it last week too. Like
It was a bad outing. You won for
Nah,
four?
we won, baby. No, we won. We won. It was the Final Four championship game is this upcoming Sunday, but we played the 17-3 number 1 seed, and we beat the shit out of them game 3.
So Josh is throwing bats into the ocean. The hell with
Nah.
this.
I was chilling. I was on high. Yesterday's therapy session was fun because I felt so good. Had we lost and been eliminated from the playoffs, I'd be like, sadness, mom, daddy issues, all the issues.
So Josh, what was the first restaurant you hit up when you got back to New York?
That's a good one. I want to pizza. Pizza was probably the first thing
yeah.
I got, right? Like,
It's a big difference, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Pizza was the first thing. Pizza, Chinese food are the two things that you miss the most when you leave New York. Pizza, Chinese food, I definitely got quick. And then I'm a little bit of a disgrace because like I don't really know how to cook rice the way abuela and mommy know how. I either make it too soggy, I make it too hard, like that.
None of us do.
Yeah, and it's like they literally just eyeball it. Mommy will give me the ingredients, I follow it to a T, and it's either soup or it's rock solid. Like I can never find that happy medium. So I'll find like random like Latino restaurants, Spanish restaurants, and just try things out and really consume it all because like that's what I miss the most. You know what I'm saying? There's only so, and I love grilled chicken, but there's only so many times you have grilled chicken, Caesar salads, wraps, and hamburgers, right? Those are everywhere.
It's funny you said Chinese because your mother used to work at the Chinese spot, and I know as a kid because I remember one time I went in there. I used to go eat there all the time, and I used to mess with the guy. Hey, give me a job, give me a job. So he hired me as a delivery boy. So back then there wasn't the mopeds and these electric bikes. You had to really ride a bike, and there was no gears. So I see your mother. I say, hey, how you doing? She goes, oh, you got the job. I say, yeah. So I go out. First delivery. I'm going, I think it was 44th Street to 5th Avenue.
Okay.
I went down, no problem. I had to come up that hill. And I'm like, oh, I don't even get halfway. I get off the bike. I start walking it up the hill. And then at that point, by the time I get to like 7th Avenue, I start reconsidering. I really want to do this shit. I go in and I quit. And then your mother said, that's it, puppy, you quit. I said, yeah, that's it. It's over. I can't do it.
We actually on Mother's Day, after I took my mom out to dinner, for the first time since September 2nd, 1988, I went back into my building, 844 42nd Street.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
for the first time since September 2nd, 1998. I was with my girl, and I was in the neighborhood. We had nothing to do that night. So I'm like, yo, let me take you to my old stomping grounds or whatever. And I don't know, like by the grace of God, this weird thing happened. There was no parking in front of the building because there never
Never
is.
never
right?
is. It's worse
But
now.
the fire hydrant's there. It's a Sunday night. I was like, I'll dip there for 5 minutes, look outside the building, chill. As we're coming up 43rd, there's a fire truck coming from 10th Avenue. And it ends up turning with us, ends up going to 844.
Wow.
So they have to prop the door open. And because you guys remember it's a one-way street,
Exactly.
so if the fire truck's there, ain't nobody.
Yeah,
And they were there for like a half hour. So it basically became a dead-end block.
Wow.
So I park at the fire pump. Doors wide open. I was able to literally get to apartment 5, like, and get in front of the door. Ironically enough, the health issue was in apartment 4. So the door's wide open. So me and my girl could look in, and all it is the only difference that everything's inverted.
Exactly.
So I was able to show her like just the hallway and how tiny it was. And let me tell you something. That building looked the exact same that it did September 2nd, 1998 when we moved out. Just 94 layers of paint because it's just paint over everything, right? But smells, like like just the energy, like, and it was so weird to be in that building. Because I'm there and I'm like, yeah, that, you know, a lot of bad shit happened in this apartment, a lot of bad shit happened in this building, but like I'm in such a dope place now that like
Yeah.
I could just sit here and be like, I want to go inside.
Yeah,
I want to see the layout. I want to,
My
because
room.
when you're a kid and you're thinking of the brown wall on 42nd and you know, it was this mountain of a wall that you had to climb when you played kick the can or manhunt. All of a sudden I realized it's like waist high. But when you're like 6 years old and you're like, wow, Danny Cortez used to do it in one single bound. He's so cool. And then you realize like, no, it was literally 4 feet off the ground, you dummy.
Amazing.
That you know, that does always feel good though when you go back. You kind of reflect like where you're at now in life, and it's like, man, I made it out, but there was so many that didn't. You know.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, kudos to you, kudos to your parents for raising 3 wonderful kids.
Just my mom. My mom.
She's a wonder woman. She is a wonder. How is she doing? She's okay.
She's good. Yeah, she's good. She's moving to Staten Island. She's good.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, we got to give a toast.
Jameson. Whatever.
We're toasting the first Puerto Rican on Z100.
That's
That in
goddamn
itself.
right.
That's
And
where I
my
was
man
going.
is syndicated. Came out of 43rd Street, Sunset Park. People stand up, listen to him, follow him. Josh, where can they find you?
Yo, Josh Martinez. Simple, easy. Even though it's 3 words, you put them together. Yo, Josh Martinez. Why? Because my name is Josh Martinez. And when I was in Des Moines, Iowa, my old boss told me to stop saying yo on the radio.
No.
So I decided if I make it part of my DK brand, he can't say shit. So I made it Yo Josh Martinez. So like my whole brand is Yo Josh Martinez, which is cool because on social media everyone's like real this or it's that, and for me it's like Yo Josh Martinez. I still have yet to see anybody that's like Yo Lou or Yo Chris. Like none of that. It's just
It will change tomorrow.
that's fine.
Wait, yo, Lou.
I'm the
Ladies and
first one.
gentlemen, let's embrace and celebrate Josh for accomplishing the things he has. Kudos, brother.
God bless. Much more success, Pop.
Hell yeah.
I'm not gonna say what alcohol that was because they're not paying you for it, and I know how important it is to get endorsements.
Hey, yo, what up? It's Josh Martinez of Z100, New York's #1 hit music station, and you're tuned in to the Breeze Shooters podcast because you got some good taste.
My girl calls me up. She's like, Laura, I got a dilemma. She says, I met this guy. I said, congratulations. She said, yeah. She said, first of all, she goes, he's fucking beautiful. She goes, I actually feel like I'm not cute enough to be with him. I said, sis, stop. She's like, no, I'm not even kidding. She said, he's into spirituality. She goes, he's into everything that I'm into. She goes, he's in finance. She goes, he's got everything great. I said, wonderful. She said, but one issue. I said, what? She said, when I told him to call me, he told me he couldn't talk because he was tired and he had that tired, raspy voice going on. She goes, I don't feel comfortable with that. She goes, what do you think? I said, sis, put your guard up, but I'd go with it for a minute and see where it goes. How'd I advise, guys? Drop a comment.